Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great night. Hey, if you're a sports fan, and particularly if you're a college football fan, man, I got a treat for you tonight. I'm really excited about tonight's show and tonight's guest. Most of you guys know and gals know that follow me on social and interact with me over the last year of the show. I'm a huge sports fan and love sports and still real passionate about watching and following sports. You know, our guests today are three guys that I've known and grew up around back where we're all from in rural Pickens County, Alabama. And not only were they great athletes, but they're great guys. And so I'm really excited to share their stories with everybody and kind of let everybody connect with them and kind of find out what they're up to now. So I'm really excited to talk to them. Hey, everybody, again, it's Morris Lilienthal, and this is the Mo Show Live. I'm a lawyer in Huntsville, Alabama, and I started this project about a year ago and really excited to share tonight's stories out. And before I formally introduce our guests, if you're watching live, please say hello. If you want to tell Tony or Courtney what's up or give them a shout out, if you got a question for me, if you're an Alabama and Auburn fan, or if you're an NFL fan, you got a question, give us a shout and let us know what your question is, and I'll chime in and give it to the guys and let them say hello or let them address the question. Again, these are guys that I grew up with, and for those that don't know, all three of us grew up in Pickens County, Alabama. So if you're looking at a map, that's about 30 minutes or so west of Tuscaloosa, where the University of Alabama is. And more importantly, if you're an SEC fan, if you're trying to get to Starkville to go to a game, you got to go through Pickens County. So that's where we all grew up. And these guys are you know, first and foremost probably are known for playing in the SEC. One at Alabama, one at Auburn, so we got a little bit of Iron Bowl thing going on here, and both played in the NFL. So let me go ahead and introduce everybody. So our first guest, and we'll just start with seniority, Tony. That's why I'm going with you, okay? So I'm gonna start with my first guest is Tony Dixon. Tony went to a rival high school of mine. He played at Pickens County High School in Reform, Alabama. And that's a two-way school, which is small school football here in Alabama. So Tony played both ways and was a real standout star there. And then Tony went on to play football at the University of Alabama. And Tony, correct me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from around 97 to 2000, somewhere around that time frame. And it was a defensive back there at Alabama.
That's right, 97, 2000.
Good deal. And then he was a second-round draft pick by the Dallas Cowboys. And if my research is right, he played for the Cowboys, I think, from around 2001 to 2004. So Tony, welcome. And I want to introduce our second guest. It's Courtney Taylor. Courtney played at Carrollton High School, which was I should say now, Courtney, was a 1A high school in the county where we all grew up. It's also my alma mater. Similar to Tony being a small high school, Courtney played both sides of the ball, and like Tony, played a lot of other sports in high school, and was certainly a standout at Carrollton. Courtney played at Auburn from 2002 to 2006 and was a standout receiver for Auburn. And as if I'm not mistaken, is still the all-time leader in receptions at Auburn University. Courtney was a sixth-round draft pick by the Seattle Seahawks, played a couple of years for the Seahawks, had some medical problems, and then rebounded from those medical problems, and then had, I think, about a 4-year stint from 2012 to 2016 in the CFL with the BC Lions. So, guys, thanks so much for your time tonight. I'm really excited to talk to you. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, Mo.
Doing great, Mo. Doing great.
Well, man, I'm ecstatic to have you guys here and to talk with you guys. So, you know, first thing I kind of tell people, and this is something I wonder, I bet you guys have the same thought I have, but, you know, having you guys thinking about talking to you guys tonight, I was really thinking, you know, when I tell people where I grew up and, you know, they're like, oh, 1A high school or 2A high school football, you know, whatever. Man, you don't know. I'm telling you, we had some awesome athletes where you guys are prime examples, but we had certainly Walter Jones that Courtney played with in Seattle, played at Dallasville High School, an NFL Hall of Famer. We had Big Mike Williams that played where Tony played at Alabama and played for the Patriots. We had Wayne Davis that played at Gordo, that's the all-time leading tackler at Alabama that played in the league. And then Patrick Plott that played with me at Carrollton, that played at Jacksonville State, was a stand-up, and the litany of others. But, man, we had some great players from where we grew up. You guys agree with that?
I agree.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, one thing I'll lead this off by saying, Mo, everybody that you name, they have records. I'm the only one that don't have records at the schools they went to. Hey, I'm the only one that all my records have been broken by right now.
Hey, mine is coming soon. Trust me.
Yeah,
Next year.
whatever.
I'm telling you, the Ryan Davis kid, he is gonna shatter my record.
Yeah, made me feel good, Courtney. That's all right.
Well, you guys were just tremendous athletes. And I remember certainly Tony and I are close to the same age. I think Tony, you were 2 years behind me, but I remember that. And then certainly when I was done and out of school and coming back home and watching and Courtney play, just you guys were just phenomenal athletes. And especially at the level we were in high school, you guys stood out. The first thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about, we just got through with this in the news and which was recruiting. And you guys both played at Tony at Alabama, Courtney at Auburn. And, every time now, it seems like now you've got 2 national championships. You've got one for the football, and then there's almost a national championship in recruiting that you see all these recruiting polls and doing. So I'd be curious to just give me a snippet and give our audience a snippet of what was it like to go through major recruiting at SEC level schools, and what were your experiences there, and how hard was it? I mean, how hard was it picking Alabama versus somebody else, or Auburn versus somebody else? Tony, what do you think?
It's funny you say that because I was fortunate to be recruited across the nation. So, some of my top picks was Notre Dame, Stanford out in California, just from an educational standpoint. I got recruited by pretty much every school in the nation except for schools like Florida State, Florida Gators, et cetera. So, quite honestly, I hate to say this from an Alabama fan standpoint, I almost went to Auburn, and yeah. And the reason I almost went there was because Bill Oliver was there at that time. Bill Oliver wanted me to play cornerback. Phil Fulmer at Tennessee and a lot of other schools wanted me to play on offense, but Homer Smith and Curly Hallman and all those are at Alabama. Gene Stallings was one that said, "Hey, come here, we'll put you at safety and we'll make it happen." But I almost went to Auburn, but I just couldn't get down with that blue and orange. It just wasn't in me. But it was an awesome experience, and I tell you, as it got down to, I committed to Alabama in December of, I guess that would have been '96, and I upheld my commitment and signed that letter of intent in that February of '97. So, but I was very close to being an Auburn Tiger. I can't lie.
Wow, that's a cool story. I didn't know that story, Tony. I don't think Courtney did either.
It's the first time I've ever told that story, Mo. First time I ever told that story.
Courtney, what about you? How hard was it for you? What was your kind of your thoughts on the recruiting process for you? And you did the opposite. You made that decision to go from the backyard of Bryant-Denny Stadium in the University of Alabama to go to Auburn. What was that like?
Well, yeah, like kind of like what Tony was saying. We had I had a bunch of schools, smaller schools that were recruiting me at that time. But in my head, I thought I was a basketball player. I had no idea that somebody wanted to give me a scholarship in football. And I was kind of like the late bloomer, so to speak, because I didn't get recruited for football until my senior year. And I remember the coaches coming to the basketball games to talk to me and or view me or look at me or whatever. So I honestly, in my head, I was just saying to myself, you know what? I think basketball is gonna work out. But all in all, it did not. But I got an opportunity to play for some great schools. I didn't have a lot of schools recruiting me as in big time schools, but Alabama, Auburn, and then I had a late push from Georgia. But a funny story is kind of similar to Tony. You guys know where we're from. It's Roll Tide country all day, every day. Are a few Auburn fans that's there, but I kind of grew up an Alabama fan. I would say that much. I kind of grew up an Alabama fan, and during the recruiting process, I almost switched my commitment to Alabama, and the only reason I didn't was because of my dad. My dad made a statement to me after my official visit at Alabama. He was like, and I was telling him that, I was thinking about switching my commitment. And he looked at me and he's like, how crazy can you be? That's the first thing he said to me. How crazy can you be? He said, you would go to a school to where they'll send the scouting department down to talk to you over a school that will send the entire coaching staff. Auburn sent their entire coaching staff down to see me. And so that's what kind of sealed the deal for me, is because it showed me that those guys actually wanted me there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, for everybody just joining us, hey, this is More Slowly in Thought. Welcome to the Mo Show Live. My guests tonight are Alabama and Auburn standouts, Tony Dixon and Courtney Taylor, and they both played in the league for the Cowboys and the Seahawks. Hey guys, let me just give a quick shout out to several people that are watching and saying hello. We've got Mary Lee Johnson, I know from back in Carrollton, Stephanie Nolan Milliken from back in Carrollton. We've got my friend Nick Rishwain and Mitch Jackson, guys from out in California. We've got Bernard Nomberg, a friend of mine who played at Vanderbilt. Sharon Wood, Sandria Pope, Jody McGee, Amanda Thompson. So got a lot of people checking us out and kind of wanting to see what you guys are up to. So those are cool stories. I can certainly tell you that I did not have those same experiences playing Division III football. But I, Tony, I don't have any records either. So if I did, I would be really secure that they would be safe at Carrollton High School by now. But I don't think I did. But so talk about real quick for a minute, guys, what was the transition like going from, high school, and especially a 1 or 2A school, to the SEC? I mean, how difficult was that, and what was that like, Tony?
I tell you, Mo, it was extremely difficult for me because being that I chose to go the defensive route, we really played no complex defensive packages in high school. It was literally like, I was a free safety. It was like, Tony, do what you want to do back there, right? So I get to college, and now I'm having Curly Hallman tell me, okay, you got to put this foot up front first. You need to backpedal to this depth. I had no clue of that. I didn't know what cover 3 was, what cover 4 was, cover 1 was. All I knew was roam. And, so I literally had to be educated on the basic football principles. I had no idea what, hidden is, 2 gap, 0 gap 3. I had no idea what none of that was. So my freshman year was strictly, and I didn't get redshirted. So I literally had to come in during fall practice, and I had to learn truly how to play football. I thought I knew, but I had no idea what football was all about until I got to college.
Yeah. Courtney, what about you?
Yeah, same here. I can concur. Same scenario. I was a quarterback more as an athlete. Definitely wasn't a quarterback at all. I think we threw the ball 2 times a game, if that. But I did average 100 yards a game, off those 2 passes. But same thing. Made the transition to receiver. I was fortunate enough to redshirt my freshman year, so I had a chance to, catch up and learn. But had no clue what a hitch route was. Had no clue what, like you say, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. Had no clue. So, it was a big learning curve for me for my first year. And like I said, to redshirt, it just really helped me out.
Yeah. Well, at any level, it's a big transition. And then certainly my limited experience and what I anticipate from you guys is that what we would see, what I think you would see, especially at our level in smaller high school football, too, is when you had guys like you guys were just, you're phenomenal. You're sharp guys, but you were just athletes. And you could make up for mistakes and techniques in high school. You can't make up for those technique mistakes at major college football, and certainly in pro football. Correct. But I know that was imagined that was a big learning curve for you. So I'd be remiss in not having a question or at least the discussion about the Iron Bowl with you guys on here, right? So, and I know your careers didn't overlap. I think you were just a couple of years apart from playing against each other in that game. But I would be interested to hear what was that experience like playing in a game of that magnitude where, folks, if you're watching and you're outside of Alabama, I'm telling you, if you think you know a big rival, you ain't got a clue. I mean, it is 365 here in Alabama, and it is eat, breathe, sleep. And, I dare say the Auburn fans, unless they could have won the national championship, would have been just fine the way it was this year beating Alabama. And what was that like? And if you got a special memory of an Auburn game, an Alabama game, the Iron And then I'd love to hear a fun story about that if you've got an Iron Bowl memory that sticks out.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Mo. I guess the best way to say it, when you think about Pickens County, Gordo, Carrollton, they could have filmed Friday Night Lights in Pickens County, Alabama. They could have filmed it in Pickens County because, the fact that things shut down in our county when we're playing, that's real life. And the fact that I experienced that in high school, I experienced the exact same thing in college when came down to playing Alabama and Auburn. Now I will say, while the Iron Bowl, I think, was one of those where it's more you playing against your brother, my biggest rivalry in college, without a doubt, was Tennessee. And I think Auburn, Courtney, you'll probably say is Georgia. But I hated Tennessee way more than I hate Auburn. It was more like when you think about when you go out and play pickup basketball with your brother, you want to kick his tail in basketball, right? That was the rivalry between me and Auburn, but Tennessee was a hatred. I hated Tennessee. And to this day, I still hate Tennessee. But it really was like a big brother, little brother situation when I played against Auburn. It was like I wanted to beat my big brother.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you that I am anti-Tennessee as the day is long. I having played at not near the level you guys played at, but played at Maryville College, which is right inside, almost next to Knoxville. I mean, UT has no buffer in Tennessee. Where in Alabama and Auburn kind of buffer each other out. In Tennessee, this is how strong Tennessee is up there, Courtney. Tony. When I was in college, they changed the area code for the county that we lived in to 865, so it would stand for VOL, V-O-L. I mean,
wow.
That's the area code.
You know what? That's the first time I ever heard that. I had no idea.
Yeah, if you call up in East Tennessee, the area code 865, and if you look on the phone, it's VOL. Courtney, what about you? Any Iron Bowl thoughts, or what was your biggest rivalry? Any memories with that?
I totally agree with Tony. It's the fans take it to the next level, unlike the players, because it was like most of the times we were playing against guys that we played against our whole careers. We might have met them at camps. We might have played against them at their respected high schools. And, like Tony said, it's like the little brother, big brother. We just wanted to win. At the end of the day, we just wanted to win. And most of the times, I remember one good Iron Bowl memory. It was 2004. We went down to Tuscaloosa. My entire family was there, so of course it was a big moment for me. And we did win that game, and literally right after the game, I was hanging out with Big Anthony Bryant. You remember Big Anthony Bryant, big D tackle? I went and hung out with him, and I remember a lot of Alabama fans were giving me grief, but all the players that I was with, Anthony Bryant, I cannot think of a few of the other guys' names, but they just told him, hey, he's with us. You're going to do something to him, you're going to do something to us too. So it was that big brother, little brother feel, but all of us just wanted to win at the end of the day. So, the rivalry, like I say, is way more between the fans than it is the players, because anytime we lace up our cleats, we want to win.
Exactly.
That's right. I like that story. And if I'm not mistaken, I just got to ask Gordon, is that Anthony Bryant that played at Sunshine?
That
played?
Oh,
dude. I remember watching that kid play in high school and watching him play basketball. That dude has the biggest calves of any human. He's got the biggest calves of any human I've ever seen. Remember him dunking in high school and the goal shaking for 2 more trips up and down the court.
He almost broke our goal. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he was a big kid. Well, let me ask you, I want to kind of transition to the NFL a little bit. I've got a question or two here from some folks about the NFL I'm going to ask you about when we get there. Real quick, I want to kind of reset it here. It's more Lilienthal. I'm talking with Courtney Taylor and Tony Dixon, former Alabama and Auburn standouts, and Pickens County High School and Carrollton High School standouts and NFL players. And thanks, everybody, for watching. We've got Liz Hinton watching in, Betsy McDaniel, Timothy Prude, Ron Sullivan, some other folks that are chiming in with us. Thanks, guys. Hope everything's going good back home. And but, this week we got the Combine going on. And I know I talked to you guys kind of getting ready that both you guys had an opportunity to participate in the Combine. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, number one, Morris, you named a couple names that I'm familiar with. So let me first say I feel blessed that I had the opportunity to do what I've done over the years, because I would tell you that people before me and after me were, and I'm honest to God truth in this, were way more talented than I was.
Amen.
So it's a lot of people in Pickens County that probably should have traveled the path I did and didn't get the opportunity to. So some of those names you mentioned, I just want to give them a shout out and say, hey, I recognize you, still love you, still appreciate you for the support. But yeah, going to the combine, that was the scariest situation of my life, Mo. I've never been put in a situation where every inch of your body is judged.
Right.
I mean, your arm span, your neck size, your whether you're 20/20 vision or not, how strong your legs are, how big your feet are, right? Because that was a scary moment for me, and I was one of those people that chose to, because I wasn't a high first round pick. When I came in, they thought I was going to be third round, and at the latest fourth or fifth round, second day. I had no idea I was going to go in second round. So when I got up there, I had to work out, right? And it was a scary situation, man. And that year I had Michael Vick and all those guys in that year of combine. I had big names that chose to sit out. Adam Archuleta, for example, was a safety that played at St. Louis for a lot of years. He sat out. And I'm sitting there like, well, shoot, if he's sitting out, do I need to sit out? Right? Do I need to wait on and do my workout at Alabama? And I really didn't run the 40 time I wanted to run at the combine. So I really thought that was going to affect my my status. But at the end of the day, I realized that, hey, Tony, you from Alabama. You from Reform, Alabama. You got to go and prove to these guys that you're willing to play, you're willing to put the work in. So while I didn't have the best combine that I wanted, and thank God it went on ESPN like it is now, it would have been some embarrassing moments for me. But thank God I did work out. Thank God I did have a chance to make a rebuttal at Alabama during the college workout. But that is the scariest time of your life. And I want to say I was 20 at that time, maybe 20, 21. I may have been 21 already, but that was a moment that, number one, I'll never forget. But that was probably the most stressful time. I would say I was more stressed in that situation than I was in any game I played in college. Period.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about you, Courtney?
I would say about the same thing. Just, a lot of nerves, very stressed, but the only good thing that I had going for me at that time was, I had a bunch of guys that I was down training with down in Orlando, getting ready for the combine. Like I said, huge names. I was down with Calvin Johnson, LaRon Landry, Craig Davis. So all of us was the Orlando crew. So we hung out together. We kind of tried to do everything together when we was at the combine. So it did help me relax a little bit and kind of calm the nerves a little bit. But ultimately, basically exactly what Tony said, like it's probably the most stressful time there is. I went from 6'2.5" to 6'1.5". I mean, it was just unreal. And I was like, really?
Well, I'm curious to see. I hear all these people talking on television about the crazy questions, and just and Tony was talking about the kind of measuring you up and down, and you hear the commentators say the underwear Olympics and that kind of thing. But was there any crazy question that stood out in your mind that one of the teams asked you, and you're like, or one of the testing things that you took, and it's like, really, why are they asking me this? What has this got to do with anything about my acumen to know the game or play the game? Does anything stand out?
Courtney probably remember. It's been too long for me, Mo, man. It's been a lot of years. Here's what I tell you,
I'm really about the same way, because the more I'm like, can I think of a story? But I do remember all kind of little silly questions they would ask, but it's nothing that really stands out to me. So, people may exaggerate a little bit, but
yeah.
Who knows?
But here's what I will tell you, Mo. I do remember distinctively of the teams that were interested in me, you literally had to go through a psych test with them. Like, they will sit you down and ask you psychological questions, right? And to the point where you're like, why are you asking me this? All you need to know if I can hit or if I can run, right? So it's amazing the strides the things they go through in trying to assess who they are going to draft and who they're not going to draft.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. I want to be cognizant of your time. I know you guys, and I know Courtney. I think you've got to commit in a little while, so I want to be cognizant of your time. But so I want to kind of jump around a few things real quick. And one question I had for my friend Mitch Jackson, who's a big sports fan, is what was the best player you think you played against in the NFL? I mean, does anybody stand out when you went up against that guy and you're just like,
oh wow,
hey, that guy's a beast?
Oh wow,
oh
wow.
Everybody, huh?
Hey, here's what I tell you, man. I came into the league at a very interesting time because if you really study football, I really came in the league during a transitional time. So I got a chance to play against Edgerrin James. I was on the team with Emmitt Smith. I was on the team with Larry Allen. I played against Walter Jones. I played against what was that D tackle down in Warren down in Tampa Bay.
Warren
The tackle Warren Sapp. And
Warren,
I have
Warren,
scored. Yeah, man. I have Jerome Bettis. I went against him. I went against Clinton Portis. I went against so many people, right? And I played against T.O., who's now in the Hall of Fame. I played against I can name them. I played against several Hall of Famers, man. And I would tell you, just to make it relevant to keeping it local, I remember going up to Seattle and playing against Walter Jones, man. And I'll never forget in this game, we was playing a scheme where I was blitzing heavily off the end. And I went on a blitz one time. Walter knocked the crap out of me, man. I'm not gonna lie. He caught me with a stiff arm, almost tore my shoulder blade up with that stiff arm. So the next time I came up to the line, and literally Walter looked at me and started laughing. I said, "Dude, stop laughing at me, bro. I'm coming to get a sack on your quarterback." so it was.
It sounds like Walt too.
No, Walter was so soft spoken, but would kill you. He was a beast.
Really.
But no, I really, honestly, I probably need to sit down and really write down how many Hall of Famers I played against, because off the top of my head, the people that are in the Hall of Fame right now, I played against on offense, or they were on the opposing defense, at least 10 to 11 names I can name right now that's in the Hall of Fame today.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is
crazy.
Amazing.
Well, I would say like kind of with Tony. I mean, you can go down a list of thinking of all the players you played against, and so many of them are Hall of Famers. So many of them was all pro players. So, but the one that stand out to me, because I had like 3 catches on him, so I was so excited about those 3 catches on him, was Darrell Reedus, who definitely would be a future Hall of Famer. And when I say that was probably, one of the best experiences that I had as an NFL player, playing against one of those caliber type players. I mean, it was just unreal. I mean, just to see his athletic ability, his speed, because he was a more thicker set kind of a cornerback. So people didn't understand how fast he was. I mean, he could play. Like, he was just an absolute athlete. And, for me to go in there as a rookie and, have 3 catches on him, I mean, I was ecstatic.
Well, I want to kind of, one last kind of football question, then I kind of want to kind of ask you guys kind of what you're up to now, so people can kind of catch up to speed and maybe what's life like after sports. But just curious, I told you guys I was going to kind of get your thoughts on this, because I get this question a lot from people, with my son, and that is, are you going to let your son play football? Or are you concerned about concussions now? Or does that scare you to the point that maybe you wouldn't let, any of your children play? And I think you guys both have young sons. And is that something, guys, that you think that you would allow your kids to play? Or is that something you're now that you maybe know a little bit more about the dangers, that maybe you won't?
Yeah, I mean, my oldest son is 14. My youngest is 11. I'll tell you that both of them have played some form of football. My 14-year-old, he's played contact. My 11-year-old has never played contact at all. He's only done flag. I'll tell you, flag is more dangerous than full contact, because you don't have equipment on. But surprisingly, I've never pressured them to play any sports at all. I can't imagine being a son for either of us and coming up behind us, because obviously you're going to be judged by what we did. But so honestly, both of them were into basketball. Neither one of them liked football. So I'm not going to have that issue thanks to Steph Curry and LeBron James. Neither of those want to play football. But I'll tell you, we all know the risk associated with football when we play it. I did have one surgery in my career. I had several injuries: high ankle sprains, quad pulls, sternum bruise, all that kind of stuff. Had concussions, but you know the risk that you take when you go out on the football field. But here's what I'll tell you: the same risk in football you'll have in every other sport. You know, so at the end of the day, it's all about, hey, what do you want your child to do? What are they interested in, and what support you're willing to give them? And if you're willing to give them the support and you have a good coach to teach them the right technique, some things may happen at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it's all about what your kid is interested in. My goal is not to force my child to do anything they don't want to do, period.
Correct. And I follow that up with basically just jumping on the bandwagon with that. I mean, I'm not a guy that's kind of, of course I understand more about CTE now. And I understand the different, effects it have on long-term things for a lot of ex-players. But, like I said, we know the risk when we sign up. Football is a violent sport. If it was, two-hand touch or, just grab the guy and say, hey, I tackle him, then we'll be talking about a whole different thing. But it is a violent sport. I wouldn't say that I would ever push my kids to play sports, because I'm agreeing with Tony on that one. Like, I just want them to be successful at whatever they do, whether that's academically or whether, it's just any kind of interest. My oldest son, Courtland is really into computers. He's really into computer programming. What do I look like going there telling him, hey, son, I want you to play football, do this and do that? No, because he's doing something right now as a 12, 13-year-old that's never going to go away. Computers are never going to go away. At some point, your sports career is going to end. It's just, it is what it is. You can't play until you're 50, but you definitely can make computer programs until you're 50 or until you're 60. But like I say, we all know the risks that are associated with football, but, I love this game, and, I'm going to push for it. And, you just want people to do it the right and the safe way.
Well,
Mo, let me add one more thing to parents out there that may be on the fence and really challenged by this question, like, should I let my child play or not? I would tell you, from the time that Courtney and I played, and definitely played in NFL to now, I don't want to say that it's patty cake now, but
way safer.
It's way safer now than when we played.
You can't really the defensive receiver. Right.
I mean, listen, Courtney, remember this. When we were playing zone, if Courtney crossed my face and he didn't have the ball, I would knock his, well, I can't say that. Hey, if you cross my face, I would knock you out. Today, if you touch a person after 5 yards, it is a penalty. And so the game has absolutely changed to where it's, and Courtney, you was a wide receiver, but you'll agree with me, it is now more geared to scoring more points. At the end of the day, NFL owners want more points on the board because they feel more points are going to generate more ticket sales. So it's not the same, like the days of 7-6 or being a 6-3 game. That's not going to happen anymore. That's gone. So it's safer now than it's ever been, even with the equipment and just the way that they go about the business from a referee standpoint of calling the fouls. It's definitely way safer than it's ever been before.
From an outside looking in, I totally agree with that. And I think that the knowledge base about the awareness of concussions, and I just got through taking an hour-and-a-half concussion protocol training for Wyatt's 7-year-old baseball team for me to be an assistant coach. So, and I had to pass a test and do all this stuff. So I really think that has helped a lot with the advances in equipment, and then certainly taking some of the dangers out of the game. Although sometimes it still seems like it's not as much fun as watching football as it was a few years ago. I hate to say that, but that's just my thought. But before I wrap up, guys, I do want to kind of let everybody know too that you guys are really giving of your time, not only tonight, but in the community. And I really appreciate seeing you guys going out with youth and doing football camps. And I know you guys have spoken at schools over the years. And do touch on that for a minute. Why is that important to you guys? Why are you guys continue to go back and I know probably back home in Pickens County and where you guys are now and really are philanthropic with your time and going back and giving back to others?
Go ahead, Courtney. I'll let you start first on this one.
No, say one more time. What did you say now? I missed that.
Yeah, Courtney, I was just kind of saying, I know kind of having followed you guys over the last several years on social and just keeping up with you in different circles that you guys are real good about giving back in the community, that you go out and speak to kids about sports and that you're either having your own football camps or volunteering to other people's football camps. And, you guys are an inspiration. I mean, Courtney, I can, say that when Shannon taught at Aliceville, I mean, everybody, even though you didn't go to Aliceville, everybody where your dad worked there, everybody at that school, when I would go to, that was, it was almost like you were there. And Walter, so why is that important to you guys? Because I really want everybody to know you guys just aren't football players. You guys are really giving guys that are great guys giving back to the community.
But, basically goes back to the people that set the foundation for us. Whether Tony knows it or not, he was definitely one of my biggest inspirations, one of my biggest role models. And I remember being a young man going to a Pickens County versus Carrollton game and watching him run the football. And I mean, I was just, instead of me down on the, outside the fence where we always do our annual, little kids game or whatnot during the real game, I would literally sit down and watch him play because he was spectacular to watch. And, to me, like I said, it just goes back to the guys who laid the foundation. It goes back to Big Walt. It goes back to, like I say, Tony. Goes back to Jody, even LaRon Little. All those guys were huge for me because I would literally sit back and watch what they would do and try to go, imitate exactly what they would do. And to me, I have to give back. I have to give back everything that I have accumulated over my career, the knowledge. And it's a really good feeling to see kids, grasp to the concepts and, really appreciate what you do for them.
That's awesome. Tony, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I got a chance to sit with Walter. I saw Patrick Plott. I used to go, what most people know, when Patrick was at Jacksonville State, my dad took me up to watch him play. So, I mean, it's really giving people the opportunity that we didn't have. We really didn't have a lot of people to really look up to if that's the case. I mean, you had one or two people that made it, but you had a lot of people that were great, right? So when you didn't have a lot of people that made it, you really didn't have an example. So you tried to latch on to whatever you could. So I felt like it was my goal because, even though I'm sure Courtney, just like we've had some people that feel like we should have done more. I think we've done more than enough to go back and show the way. I did a football camp in Tuscaloosa, for example, for about 6 to 7 years. The reason I chose Tuscaloosa, while most people in Pickens County was upset that I chose Tuscaloosa, not Pickens County. The reason I chose Tuscaloosa was because it was at Stillman College, and I actually did an educational aspect of it too. So I had professors come in and talk to the kids to try to show them that, hey, it's more than sports. Because sports, you never know when your last play will ever be.
Amen.
Right? And so I wanted them to see, hey, it's more than just football. You have to think outside of football and break your mental glass ceiling and start thinking about what your future is going to be. So I will say I'll put a plug in. I did something this year that I should have done years ago. And Courtney, I'm gonna put it on your table as well, and I'll help you through it. But I started my foundation. So I'm registered now in the state of Alabama. I'll be 501c3 probably around April. Nice. But you're going to have the Tony Dixon Foundation. So I'm going to go back to doing football camps. I'm going to go back to mentoring, counseling, supporting these athletes, these young students that are coming up. I don't care if you play football or not. It's not about football.
Right.
It's about you realizing that just because you're from Pickens County, Alabama, it does not mean that your opportunities are limited. In fact, because you're from there, I think you have a greater opportunity to do greater things because you understand how to relate to everybody, regardless of what the demographic is, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of how much your parents make, regardless if you have your mom and dad in the household, you're raised by your grandparents, or you was adopted. It does not matter. Coming from where we came from, it gives us the tools that we need to be successful in anything, anywhere you want to be in this world and have a great career.
That's awesome. I couldn't agree more, Tony. And hit me up when you get ready. I'll support you any way I can. And Courtney, when you get ready to set something up like that,
yeah,
let me know.
I'm telling Courtney right now. Courtney is going to have his foundation.
We're going to link. We'll link up, Tony, for sure.
I got you covered. We're going to make that happen. No, this year.
Yes, I love it. The challenge has been laid down. I love it. Well, guys, I want to wrap up and real quick in like 30 seconds or something. So I want to let Courtney. I know Courtney's got to go, and Tony, I want to be cognizant of your time too. What are you guys up to right now? I know people that know you from back home maybe hadn't checked you out or hadn't followed you, know what's going on. Just give us a 30-second snapshot of what you guys are up to now, Tony. What's going on with you?
Yeah. Right now, I'm actually working for Frito-Lay. I've been working with Frito-Lay for the last it'll be 9 years of July. So I'm the sales director now for Frito-Lay. So God has been good to me, man. I took my business degree that I received at Alabama and I made something happen with it. Unbeknownst to most people, just because you make it to NFL doesn't mean you're a millionaire. So you they think that, but no, if you're not at the top echelon, there's no way you're going to be able to sustain a career and sustain a life that you want without going and work. So you need to have that education.
Right.
Unfortunately, I've been a sales director for Frito-Lay for 9 years, and it's really been an awesome experience for me. I'm based out of Birmingham right now. Most people don't know I'm in Alabama, but I am based out of Birmingham. And make sure you buy the Frito-Lay products. Everybody's in the Central Alabama area, because when you buy a bag, you actually support me.
That's awesome. Courtney, tell everybody real quick before we wrap up here what's going on with you now.
Well, right now I'm working out in a transition program. Like I said, I have my business degree, but I'm not using my business degree because I want to take more of an approach of mentoring. And so basically I'm in a transition program that's working with special needs. And basically we are getting special needs kids adjusted to life after school. So basically every day I'm out in the Seattle community, taking kids to the mall, taking kids to different places to where they can have some form of a normal life. And all while I'm doing that, I'm also working on my teacher certification. So I can basically be a special education teacher within the school system out here in Washington. So, and then in my spare time, I do the 7-on-7 coaching, training, try to stay around football because that's what I love to do.
That's awesome. Guys, I want to thank you guys so much for your time tonight. And I want to thank you guys for all you're doing, for our communities and your communities now where you are and for everything back home. I know so many guys look up to you from back home and just, as great men and as great athletes. And so, guys, if you're watching this show live or you're watching the show in a recorded fashion, please like and share the show and share it out so everybody can understand the great stories that were shared tonight. We had some great fun stories. We had a lot of great feedback really for parents that are thinking about kids playing football and safety questions. I thought that was some great feedback from both you guys that there's a lot of new safety things that are aligned in the game setup, that it's not as dangerous as maybe people might perceive it to be. And share the great stories of these guys and support Tony and his foundation when he gets that up in the ground. And then when Courtney gets his up, we're going to make sure we support it too. And I know Tony's going to hold his feet to the fire on that. Guys, thank you so much. Yes, sir. Well, roll Tide and War Eagle, and go Cowboys and go Hawks. And I really appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to speak with me and time to speak with me tonight. Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Mo. All right, Tony, we'll be in touch.
Oh yeah, I'm going to call you soon.
Hit me up.
Take care, guys. All right, bye.